Stacy, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Kat, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat about all things surface design today.
So what we're going to do is just keep it really casual. This is just going to be a back and forth conversation about some hot topics that I outlined of what's going on in the world of surface design today and our thoughts on it. But before we get started, I'll give a quick intro to Stacy. She is a creative business genius and an incredibly talented artist. You see her artwork back there behind her. Stacy started her art business from scratch, and she has just grown it into this incredibly successful endeavor. So Stacy, can you take a minute to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Stacy Bloomfield, like Kat said, and I'm an Arkansas-based artist. I have been drawing my whole life. My earliest memories are of drawing puppy dogs, and pretty much my career has mirrored everything I wanted to do as a child. I draw animals and objects that inspire me and put them on as many products as possible. So 15 years ago, I wasn't a professional artist. I was a coffee shop manager, and I had my first baby and was a newlywed and was trying to figure out how I could, stop being a coffee shop manager and find my way back to art, but I had no idea what it was going to be. So I just started like everyone does. I just started making art and sharing it online. At the time, I shared it on Etsy. And it took me a long time to really build that momentum, find my voice as an artist, find like what worked for me in terms of products to create. But eventually I started selling my own art on products. And then I started licensing my art with other companies like Crate and Barrel and Williams-Sonoma, whoop, whoop, where they paid me to put my art on their products, which is the coolest thing ever. I know it's just so bananas that we get to do that. It's such a great opportunity. Then I started wholesaling my products in like mom and pop shops, brick and mortar stores, and eventually started teaching other artists how to kind of take their own voice, their own secret sauce, and find their path as a creative business owner. So I went from like sketching and doodling to running this successful creative business. And I love it.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, I think our journeys are very similar. It's like I kind of stumbled upon one thing that worked really well, and then everything, which was print on demand at the time through Society6, and then everything else just kind of bloomed from there. So that kind of leads into the first kind of topic that I wanted to talk about with you, which is income streams. So what are some I want to chat about surprising income streams that some artists may not consider. And this is also kind of a softball pitch for both of us to talk about diversified income, which I know we're both very big advocates for. So what are some income streams? You just laid out a few, but what are some ones that you've explored or ones that you think could be very profitable for other artists, especially anyone that's just getting started?
Okay. What's really great is when I first got started, there was so little available to me in terms of income streams. I could do craft shows, which I did, which is still a good income stream. You could sell on Etsy. At the time, having my own website felt really like hard and unachievable, but now artists can create websites like that with the help of Wix or Squarespace. But right now I'm seeing a lot of artists interested in KDP publishing, like Amazon print on demand publishing, where you can create your own coloring books and sell them on Amazon, or your own storybooks that could do black and white or color printing. So I have done 2 books in collaboration with a KDP publisher that have done really well on Amazon. They're children's coloring books. And I am getting so many questions from other artists about like this. So I'm plotting something right now for myself to do my own book on KDP.
Wait, I have a quick question here. I haven't actually talked with you about this one before. I feel like we've had so many conversations about income streams and what's working, what's not working, but I haven't heard you talk about this one before. Do you self-publish, or do you have to find a publisher if you want to go that route?
You can self-publish completely. So what I did is I had some good friends who had their own publishing company for a while, and then they decided to only move to KDP publishing. So a couple of years ago, they reached out and we collaborated on our first KDP published book, meaning I just got to make the art, and then they did all the work on putting it on Amazon and promoting it. So then I got royalty checks, and I just was like, I love this. It was a way faster turnaround. So I don't know if any of you are interested in publishing. Like, I've done a book with, this was just sitting here. It wasn't a prop. It was just here. This is my book with publishing. They're like a major publisher. And this was a really long turnaround from pitching my idea to them. It's filled with all of my art and illustrations. Let's see if I can find a good one like that, some illustrations.
Oh, beautiful.
That. They're fun. A lot of texture and line work. But to go from start to finish was like a 2-year process with this. But with KDP Publishing, it's very fast. So I at first went with my friends and partners so they could help me. And then if you hear my dogs barking in the background, I'm sorry, I have 3 dogs. I have
Stacey
3
told
dogs.
me, she told me just before this call that she just got a puppy.
I just got a new puppy. His name is Sherlock. And then I have 2 other dogs named Dougal and Rosie. And they always know when I'm on a call. They're really smart. So they're going to settle down. But back to KDP Publishing, I partnered with them and it went really well. But anyone can go on Amazon, their KDP Publishing website, open up an account. And we're talking, if you wanted to, you could have a book up in like a day. If you already have the artwork together and you design the cover, they make it super easy. And then not only is it searchable on Amazon, you can promote it yourself. It's like a real book that give you a real ISBN number. So it's like legit. And I have so many artist friends who are into it right now.
I love how when you did that partnership with your friends where they wrote it and then did all the marketing and you provided the illustrations. I love that you didn't just do a flat fee with them, that you went the licensing route and you collect royalties. Man, that's smart.
Thanks for saying that. Well, I just feel like I got really fortunate with the partner who understood. Like I talked to them for their friends of mine, and I was like, I really want a royalty. Here's why. And if the book hadn't done well, I wouldn't have gotten paid as much. But because it has done well and it's been circulating a while, like I still get a royalty check every 6 months from them, which is super. And that's what licensing is all about. It's doing like sometimes you do a lot of work up front. Sometimes you get a flat fee in addition to a royalty, especially with books, but it's the gift that keeps on giving whenever it goes well.
That's how I feel about it too. It's like it's pennies trickling in over time rather than just a lump sum like $100 bill right in your pocket immediately. And I also prefer the licensing route. I very, very rarely do buyouts, which is where you sell your artwork, your copyright outright to a company, and then you no longer own that piece. They own it and they can do whatever they want with it. Some artists do this and it can make sense. But for me, just general rule of thumb, I prefer licensing because that's just been the tried and true model that's worked out really well for me over the years. Like not everything is going to be a home run, but those ones that do become top sellers, like, man, am I glad that I went the licensing route instead of just a buyout, because licensing over time surpasses what that lump sum could even be.
I completely agree. I have done like very few buyouts in my career. I did a buyout for a book project in 2020 with Chronicle. I'm allowed to say that because my name is still on the book as the artist, but they preferred that for that route. They created all the writing and I just illustrated for them. But I think especially whenever you get to like create all the work from start to finish, you definitely want to license and get that royalty check coming out over time. And then it's such a big credibility builder, like to license your art with other companies who have different audiences than you might have as a smaller artist. Like I was very much a small artist whenever I got my first licensing deal. Talk about pennies. It was with a magnet company, and they found my art on Etsy, and they wanted to put my animals on magnets. And my first check was like 10 cents, and I was like, this is the best 10 cents I've ever made in my life because it was art I'd already created. And once they accidentally sent me a check for like $10,000. And I was like, whoa, I sold a lot of magnets. And then I just reached out to check. They're like, that was a complete mistake. Thank you for telling us. And we fixed that. But at one point I was like, dang, I am the queen of magnets. That was a short
That is pretty good. That is pretty good. I have some because I sell through a lot of print on demand websites. Like Society6 is one that a lot of people are familiar with. Spoonflower, Redbubble are also print on demand. And some of the more obscure ones that I got involved with, like 8 years ago, I still get like, you just earned 40 cents on your PayPal account this month from a company that I started, uploading my work to 8 years ago and completely forgot about. So it's just little surprises like that. So yeah, it's funny. I think I screenshotted a few of those and I sent one. One is called Thoughtful, which is a greeting card company. I believe they're based out of the UK. And I'd been getting these like really low PayPal payments for for years. I don't even remember when I started working with them. And I was telling one of my friends about it, Charlie Clements, who's another illustrator, also in the educational space. Yeah, and she's also based here in Thailand. So she lives like a mile down the street from me. But anyway, I was going for like a hike with her at the waterfalls here in Chiang Mai, and I got the PayPal email of like 40 cents from Thoughtful, and I'm like, oh, I think I just sold a product, but I don't even remember what this website sells. They're called Thoughtful. And Charlie burst out laughing, and she was like, for a while, like that was a huge part of her, succeeding in business because she started with greeting cards. And so where I just kind of like threw some designs up there without really taking a hard look at the products, she specifically designed greeting card designs. And so she does really, really, really well through that platform. But it's funny, it's just like she's like, yeah, my monthly checks do not look like that. And it just goes to show. Yeah. You want to design, definitely, you want to design for the product and for the client. But honestly, one of my approaches has just been kind of the shotgun approach where I have a massive portfolio of art and I just throw it all at the wall and I want to see what sticks. That's actually worked out pretty well for me. So when you find things that are working well, I found that that's when I kind of hone in and curate a little bit. But usually my first try is just like throw it all out there and we'll see what happens.
And I think especially if you're an artist who has a huge body of work like you do, it's prolific. I think you have like what, 6,000 designs, maybe more. Like you are just it's cajillions. If you are an artist who just that's where your sweet spot is, just making tons of art, then absolutely like that is the approach. And I have a lot of art too. So like we can be a little less discriminate about like who we're pitching to because I have so much. I think if you're an earlier artist in your journey, probably trying to hone in a bit on like the right people for your smaller portfolio is a really great place to start. But then again, like I always encourage artists to never stop making art. Like your style is always going to keep changing and evolving. And then for licensing, it just means your audience grows of who you can pitch to.
Yeah, I love that. I love that thought. Yeah, now when I am pitching to companies like print on demand, I kind of still treat as just let's throw everything up there and see what happens. It's massive platforms. But when I'm pitching to a specific client, especially pitching something where I really, really want to work with them, that's when I'm like, okay, I got to go to town. I got to make a PDF and put my best stuff up there. That's where collections come into play, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like there's a time and place for it.
Well, I teach a lot of artists how to do that, like the small collections in my course, Leverage Your Art. I think you've probably seen this artists who think a collection has to be like 12 pieces of art and they really overcomplicate it for themselves. Like I need 12 pieces of surface pattern repeats and standalone illustrations, and I have to do all this work. I'm like, do collections of 3 pieces to start with, like that kind of coordinate with each other. You can make like a tear sheet or a PDF portfolio, or I even teach people how to make a portfolio website on Squarespace because it's super approachable.
I use Squarespace.
Yeah. Yeah. Squarespace is great. It's so great. You don't have to know how to code. And a lot of people in the beginning, like they want that structure and they want to be taught exactly how to get going. But I really feel like there's rules and structure that we teach. But the secret sauce is like your own voice and exciting point of view that has to come into it as well, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's where, that's where your own artistic voice can really, really shine because that's where, like, I think I had this mindset shift fairly recently, actually, like within the last 5 years or so, where I started thinking, okay, if I start illustrating designs that I actually want to hang in my home back there, then I'm going to start having these licensing partnerships with companies that I really, really want to work with. It's work that I'm proud of showcasing. And not to say that I wasn't, putting all of my own artistic voice into my designs before, but, when I got to a point where I was like, oh, I need seamless patterns in my portfolio. I have art licensing agents that represent me. And when I had my first onboarding call with them, they were like, you have no seamless patterns. You got to have seamless patterns if you want to get into fabric, wallpaper, all of that. So I kind of did this whole approach of like in 1 month, I was like, get as many seamless patterns as I possibly can. And it worked to a degree because some of those became strong sellers, but a lot of the ones I was creating, because I was just like creating art for the sake of just getting that bulked up in my portfolio, they weren't very strong. And so when I kind of revisited that and it was less of a frantic, like get as many seamless patterns as I possibly can filled up in my portfolio and started thinking like, what's something that I would like to hang in my own home? It kind of made this big shift in terms of quality in my portfolio.
But I gotta say, you started and you did it. So many people, they get the idea of what they want. Let's say it's fabric licensing, which I license with Moda Fabric, and I think I'm on my 16th collection with them. I do a lot of seamless patterns. Things. I do a lot of seamless patterns with them. But I'll tell you, when I first was interested in fabric, I did what so many people do: is I made my first 3 seamless pattern collections. They really weren't me. But I was like, they're seamless patterns. I cracked the code and I pitched my portfolio. And I was really lucky that when Moda replied to my email, they actually looked at all my work that I had on my website and not just what I submitted to them. They're like, these are cute, but they don't look like you. And we really love how the rest of your standalone art looks on your website. Because I've been making art and products for years under my brand name Gingerbread, and the two didn't match. And so they were like, let's make something with your actual voice that you use all the time. And that pushed me to start getting better and better at my art voice being represented in my surface pattern designs, my seamless repeat patterns. So I was really thankful that they looked at my whole body of work and not just the like 3 little collections that no one licensed. Let's not lie. It was not my best work. But that's what happens to so many early artists. They make a few collections, they pitch it, and then when it doesn't work, they give up.
Well, how do you self-curate then? Like, how do you look at something and you know this is going to be a home run, or this is not my best work, or how do you know what needs to be improved to be commercially viable?
So it's this balance for me because I'm a quick start. I'm always telling people like, don't wait until you're perfect to get started. So with that in mind, I do typically like pitch before I'm ready for things, or write a book proposal before I know exactly what I'm doing, create the product listing, even if the photography isn't perfect. But I go into it with the mindset of what am I going to learn from this, no matter like whether it's a home run or not. And I think that if you have that learning mindset, you're going to walk away and always think like okay, I did this thing. Now what will I do differently next time? Whereas I think a lot of people have this fixed mindset of this is the formula. I'm going to create my art. I'm going to get it out there as quickly as I can because Stacy says be a quick start. And then if it doesn't work, I'm going to stop and think I'm a horrible person and a failure. So you've got to have this thoughtful mindset, because over time, like the next time I pitch, I'm going to be like, okay, what can I tweak with my email this time? Or, let's look at the body of work with fresh eyes. I'm going to put it away for a little bit and then pull it back out and look at it. What would I do differently? Sometimes I'll have friends or family, not like everybody, because I don't trust everybody's opinion, but people who I actually like trust, I'll have them look at my work and just, what do you think of it? And just listen to what they say. Sometimes it's like spot on, like, oh, this doesn't actually look like a bear, Stacy. This looks like something else. I won't talk about that story here because this will probably be on YouTube. But once I was recovering from a surgery and I made some art to submit to a client, and it was supposed to be a bear with arms hanging down, but instead it looked like a lactating bear. I'm not going to go into much more details. And they said,
you can send that to me later privately.
I'll say that later. But let me just tell you, like, I did not take a fresh look at that before I submitted it. And then this stranger looking at it was like, Stacy, I don't know why you sent us this. This looks really strange. If I had stopped first and had someone else look at it before I sent it, I could have not been embarrassed. Oh my gosh. They kept working with me. Thank goodness.
Yeah, honestly, like hitting on the point you made about kind of like taking fresh eyes and looking at it with fresh eyes, or having someone you trust to look at it. I've been implementing that right now. I've been creating a bunch of new artwork based off of this trip I took to Africa a few months ago. I went on a safari and then I climbed Kilimanjaro. So I took like 1 million photos, and I've been like illustrating zebras and rhinos and hippopotamus and everything. I was kind of at a conundrum. I was like, I don't know why this is not working. I did the thing where I would set it aside and then pick it back up again like 2 days later. And man, that solved so many issues for me. I was like, why is this, rhino horn so short? Why is the tail of the zebra so freaking long? And then like all of these things just became crystal clear to me because I was looking at it with fresh eyes. And then once I tweaked it, fixed a lot of these structural, issues that my illustrations were having, then I uploaded it to my Instagram account, and I would show 2 variations. And I would say like, which one is your favorite? This color palette or this color palette? And yeah, that could boost my engagement. But honestly, like I really just needed some fresh eyes to take a look at it. And so many people in my audience on Instagram are fellow artists and surface designers. So I'm like, these are my people. These are the people that I can kind of throw this at and be like, what am I doing here? Like what needs to change? What's working? And it's really valuable.
You know what else I think is valuable is like, so many of my friends and followers are artists as well. But sometimes going to the person who isn't the artist to have them look at it to make sure that they even understand what you're trying to say is incredibly important. Because I think sometimes we get so lost as creatives in our technique or in our color palette and things like that. And then what we're actually trying to say or show in our art isn't actually clear. And if someone who is your dream customer can't look at it right away and get it, they have to think about it super hard. then it's not going to work. Because when someone's shopping at a store on a shelf or maybe online, and you've got like 1 second to like make a quick impact on someone. It's like whenever someone has a good book cover and you're in a bookstore and you're browsing, how many of us are buying books because of the book cover, and how many of those people are not artists? You want someone who is like going to be completely fresh almost, to be like, yes, I like this. They may not be able to express why they like it, like maybe an artist can, but like you want that connection. So I love asking people on my team who are doing like shipping and assembly work, who maybe aren't artists, like, what do you think? And it's some of the best feedback I get.
That's a really good tip. I'm going to use that one. My family, that's an easy one. My brother, he does cybersecurity, so he's very analytical. I'm going to try that out with him. Actually, this can I point backwards? This sun right here, I illustrated for his wife's baby shower. So when they had their first kid, I was designing the baby shower invite, so I illustrated this sun. And later I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and toss that in my art licensing portfolio and see what happens. And this has been like my bestseller for 2 years running. So
I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere because it's so great. Oh, I should throw in this caveat, because I often say like, don't get too many opinions from too many people. So I should probably put like a caveat in there. When it comes to like advice for your business, don't take advice for your actual growing of your business from people who aren't on the path you're at or aren't further along than where you want to go. Like, I'm not going to ask my mathematician, software developer husband for advice on like the next launch of my product line, because that's not really his forte. So I think there's a little differentiation. There's like art experience and reaction, but where I'm a little bit more curated is who I trust for advice on like the next steps in my career. You know what I'm saying?
well, let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's kind of a good foray into the business side of things. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, me included, I mean, when I was first starting out, I didn't know what art licensing was and what surface pattern design was. I was doing those things, but I didn't know what the actual terminology was. Like, for a hot minute, Stacy, I thought I was like the only person who cracked this code and was doing this whole art licensing print on demand surface design thing. I was like, I can't believe it. I've just discovered a brand new income stream that no one else knows about. And because I just had no knowledge, I had no knowledge about it. I didn't even know the terms to Google and what to look for. So how, if you are at those beginning stages and you're just really not sure, I mean, there's a ton of advice out there. The internet is a big place. Like, how do you know what advice to listen to when you're at those beginning stages of trying to figure out your business moves?
Ooh, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. First of all, they're like, you license, I license. We now know like a bunch of amazing creatives who have found different ways forward in licensing. Like, the way you license is different than me, and so on and so forth. But the big thing is we actually have current industry experience, because I know since you've started licensing and I have, things have changed a lot. So I think if you're going to listen to someone, having someone who actually is still active in art licensing, even if they're just doing a little bit, you need to listen to them. I think now, because of how easy it is to publish like online blogs and information, there are a lot of people probably using ChatGPT, which I like ChatGPT for a lot of reasons, but a lot of people with no actual industry experience writing expert posts about art licensing. And I don't necessarily think that that's like what you're going to look for. Look for a real person with a real face who you can see is actually licensing or in the creative industry, and who is sharing like honestly and openly about like, not everything is like sunshine. If someone is telling you you're going to make $100,000 from art licensing, that's not necessarily the case for most people. I think it's a very small percentage of artists who support themselves completely full-time from art licensing. I think it's fair to say. But I do think once you do find people like Kat and I, there's other people, it's also like, do you like them? Like, do you resonate with what they're saying? Like, there's so many people with great information, but they may just rub you wrong. And so like, you don't want to necessarily force yourself to listen to someone who you don't really vibe with. But I think the most important thing is, at the end of the day, like, you can't just like, I don't want someone to just replicate my business. I want them to look at their own things that they like, their own voice as an artist, their own experiences, and take any advice anyone gives them, and then run it through their own internal filters of values, mission, the things they care about, and then like make it their own. So that's important, I think.
I think that's such a good point, because it's, as many resources, myself included, I have classes on how to paint with watercolor, how to draw and Procreate, 101, what licensing is, how to get started, very basic level stuff. And the big caveat here is you can't replicate someone else's success the exact same way they did it and expect to have the same results. Otherwise, there would be, a million Apple companies out there. It's like you can't take the way that somebody else reached their success and do the exact same thing. You need to modify it in a way that is unique to the market, fits your own artistic voice, your own style, your own brand. And then carve out that little pocket for yourself, because, going back to that whole idea of diversified income and multiple income streams, like Stacy and I, even though we're both in art licensing, that's one overlap we have, but she's doing a lot of stuff that I'm not doing, and I'm doing other avenue streams that she's not doing. And it's just things that align with our own personal choices in our businesses. Like you have the whole tea towel business. And we talked about this on our last Zoom call, like a few weeks ago. I was shocked that I thought the tea towels were kind of an origin story for you when you started with that, and then you kind of moved on to other things, but this is still a major, hugely successful part of your business.
It is. So I'll self-disclose, like I don't mind sharing in many cases real numbers because I think it's important. Last year, I made almost $700,000 from tea towel sales on my website, gingerbread.com. Whoop, whoop.
That is incredible. Tea towels. That's insane.
Tea towels with art on them, which is the coolest thing. And what's interesting is we've been selling tea towels for almost my whole business. Like I didn't start out doing tea towels, but eventually I was like, I want to find an inexpensive way to print large art because like screen printed posters are really expensive. And so I was like, how else can I screen print? And it's this perceived value thing. People don't perceive the value of tea towels as much. So I'm like, how can I make this art? And so I started putting art on tea towels and screen printing them. And over years, people just really loved our towels. 2022, I introduced this subscription model of a tea towel of the month, where every month if someone signs up, they get a new tea towel in their mailbox every single month, and it's a limited edition design. And we have over 2,500 subscribers every month who get a tea towel in their mailbox. But what's really cool is it's like an entry mode. People learn about us from our tea towels, and then they look at all the other stuff that we do, which is calendars and greeting cards and other things. I'm like, wow, I like this too. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to grab that. And then what's cool is it's this big circle because tea towels are popular. I pitch my portfolio all the time to licensing, but people see us online because of our tea towels, and people have been like, I love these tea towels and I love the art. And then a partner will come along and be like, I want to partner with you for art licensing because like people clearly love what you're doing. And I guess the point of saying this is that when you have multiple income streams, first of all, you're not completely dependent on one income stream because the market fluctuates, which is incredibly important. I could talk about that all day, maybe later. But the other thing is income streams feed into each other and bring you different audiences. So because the tea towels are out there and rocking and rolling, and it's another way to feature art on product, which is what I'm really passionate about. People will gift the tea towel to someone and someone else will gift it. And actually, that's how last year we ended up in the New York Times. They did a feature about our tea towel club because someone had sent someone a tea towel who worked there who was doing like a gift guide. And so this is the big thing about just like not putting all your eggs in one basket, because you might think, I'm going to pitch my portfolio 20 times each month, and that's going to lead to X amount of licensing deals. And then mathematically, I will be stable. That's not how it works. You want to just put your umbrella out there. You just want to like have everything under this big umbrella and not limit yourself to who's going to see your art. Don't just pitch your work, share it on social media, make a product. Maybe it is a tea towel for you, maybe something else, but you just never know who's going to see it.
That's such a good point, because I've seen the exact same thing happen in my business where I have, my name, my artwork all over the place. I have it through print on demand. I have my work in store through, Anthropologie, Nordstrom, Target. And for every single licensing contract I sign, in the contract, I stipulate that my brand logo or my signature must be somewhere on that product. So If it's a stationery set, my logo is going to be on the back cover with the copyright information. If it's wallpaper, a little trickier because as we know, wallpaper are repeat patterns and I'm not going to have my signature repeat every 6 inches. So in situations like that, I put it on the packaging itself. I don't do it, but my licensors do. So much work has come from just this emphasis that I made with my brand awareness. Like it's been so important to me to have my signature on every art print. Like my very first licensing deal was with Urban Outfitters. And yeah, I requested, I'm like, can we keep my signature on there? And they were like, yeah, of course you can. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Like I didn't know what I could or couldn't do. It was my first licensing contract. And what that did is it all of a sudden gave me a brand recognition, a brand awareness alongside Urban Outfitters. So people would go into Urban Outfitters and see my artwork with my signature, which I made a little bit bigger on that print. And then I got more licensing deals that kind of rolled off from that. Even with my print on demand stuff, like I don't focus as much on print on demand now because it's just not nearly as lucrative as it was 10 years ago. But I still have a lot of designs on print on demand websites. And what that does is a lot of companies still use print on demand as kind of a search engine for finding artists they want to license from. So every once in a while, I still get contacted from someone, usually a buyer, that finds my work on print on demand and then reaches out to me directly. So the way that that happens is I have my email address and all my social handles on my bio everywhere on the internet where my artwork is sold. So like every print on demand site, my Etsy shop, my Instagram, like my email is right there. And it makes it really easy for people to get in contact with me.
See, I think that finding ways, because that's really just a way of marketing, like you're finding this way of marketing without having to just be like, hey, everybody on Instagram, license my art, which I think when someone's first starting out in their career, like that's one of the biggest things. Like they might have the beautiful art, they might have made the portfolio, but then like aside from pitching your portfolio, which I teach a lot of in my course Leverage, we teach people how to research email addresses and we teach people how to write the emails, we give them templates, but a lot of artists don't want to do that because it's really scary. So you're like, there's different ways. I call it having a big yellow giraffe moment. Where people will notice you. And honestly, it's because I made a big yellow giraffe out of paper mache a couple years ago, and it got me noticed doing a lot of things. So sometimes as a
like
creative,
walking down the street or what?
I'll tell you what happened. So I'm the type of creative, and I think a lot of us are, is like, okay, there's ways to do things. There's tasks, there's formulas, which I teach people how to do, but it gets real stale if you're not having fun with it. And I think that as artists, we've got to have big, fun, creative ways to express ourselves. So whether it's like one piece of art that like you put so much of your own story into and you share it and like people start to share about it because they're so inspired by the story about it, that's one way to do it. For me, I've painted murals in my local town, not for anything other than like, I'm feeling the call to make something big and I'm going to document it because, I'm going to share about it and people notice it. But a couple of years ago, I was like, I want to do something I've never done before. And so I just committed to this local craft show. I was like, how would you like it if I just made a 7-foot tall paper mache giraffe for the craft show that people could, take a photo with? And like, you do that? I'm like, sure, why not? They're like, great. Can you have it done in a month? And I'm like, you bet I can. I'd never paper mache anything in my life. And I just went big. And so she has a story now. Her name's Geraldine. And I just figured out and taught myself, like, who can help me make an MDF like skeleton for this bad boy so she doesn't like her neck doesn't break the top over. Okay, and let's watch YouTube videos for learning how to make paper mache clay out of like toilet paper and Elmer's glue. And who on earth can help me really quickly paint this sucker yellow and decorate it because like I'm running out of time. And did the whole thing in my garage. And whenever I brought her to the craft show, everyone was like, Geraldine, I named her. And I gave her a little hashtag and I was like, take a photo with Geraldine, So she got shared all over the place. So Geraldine opened up all these doors because later when I started talking about her, I was like, you need to have a big yellow giraffe moment to get noticed locally. And then I tell the story. And so now I teach my students and Leverage Your Art. Like if you are stuck with marketing, I want you to go back to what's something that is like fun for you, that's going to push you, that you can document, that's real weird. You got to get weird. And that has led to so many opportunities for me. People being like, now Geraldine lives in a local like art center in Springdale, Arkansas. That's where she lives. And I still get messages of people taking a photo with her. And you just never know who is going to see that. But I think the big thing here is your own personal magic. Like that's what you've got to put into your marketing and getting seen. It's like for you made this piece of sun art for someone you cared about because something cool was happening in their life. It wasn't like motivated to license. And then you're like, it's so great. I'm going to put it in my portfolio. And now look what's happened, right?
That's Yeah, I mean that's completely accurate, and it reminds me of like I have been at burnout mode in my career before. Well, spoiler alert, that was my previous career when I used to be a graphic designer at an agency, which I'm no longer doing because burnout happened. And yeah, I think burnout is always a possibility, especially at beginning stages when you're trying to figure something out. When you get frustrated, you're not really sure what path to take, and then you just think like, okay, that's it, moving on to something else. Burnout achieved. But when you find ways to kind of make it fun, reinvigorate yourself, I think that can really be the secret sauce that a lot of people need to find the drive and the passion because, we're artists. We're artists because we love expressing ourselves. We love creating art. And when you remove that and when you remove that like that joy and it becomes something like I have to do to make money, it can get really daunting. So, yeah, one thing to point out here is there's going to be so many times in your career if pursuing art, pursuing surface pattern design or licensing where you have to do something you've never done before. Like that's going to happen all the time. I have stuff all the time I have to do that I've never done before, and rather than shying away from it, I'm just like, great, I'm going to figure it out as I go. Like go in with confidence, and you know what I do, I figure it out, and sometimes there's mistakes, but you know what, overall I learn something new and my career expands. So
Well, on that note, I think a lot of beginning artists get stuck in learning mode. And what I mean by that is yes, learning something new. Like Kat and I, we both teach classes because like we know like there's information that people need. But sometimes people stop themselves from pitching their portfolio or going to the show or whatever it is because they're thinking, what if someone asks me to prepare my artwork in a different color format than I know how to do? I can't go pitch my portfolio until I figured out every way to fix my colors. Or what if they want me to enlarge my art and I don't know how to? So I see a lot of artists asking questions that are 10 steps ahead of them. And in some ways, I think that is inhibiting growth because like I'm like you. I don't know how to do everything. But if I get in a situation, I'm like, this is, Marie Forleo says everything's figure outable because it really is. And like we get in our own way so often whenever we try to figure out everything before we do the next thing. Like I said earlier, I am a quick start. I pitch things sometimes before I'm ready. But if I'm going to be able to learn from it, I'm going to grow from it. So yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you something. I was listening to this book. I was talking to a friend about it yesterday. It's a weird title. It's called The Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a book written in the 60s. It's not about business, but I was listening to it yesterday and they talk about how when we're trying to achieve something, let's say it's art licensing and you're new to it and you've taken my course, leverage your art, or you've taken something else and you're learning the steps. There's a process. The reason why people tend to not finish their goals is because they're trying to just grit their teeth and force their way through it. They're just trying to effort their way through it. And actually, so much effort without being in a flow of relaxation to start with is actually going to make you do the opposite of what you want, which means you're actually going to not succeed at art licensing if you're just thinking, I'm going to grit my teeth and bear it and just send all the pitch emails no matter what. They suggest actually, and there's a whole study on it. I don't have the study with me. They suggest that if you were to stop first and to get quiet for 30 minutes, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's going for a walk every day and get back into a flow state, then you're going to be able to do the thing that you want to do. And everything's going to be so much easier. So we can either, my phone is being annoying today. I'm sorry. We can either just force ourselves and then give up whenever it doesn't work, or we can get back into this energized state of like, what's my why? Why am I doing this in the first place? And then do the same process. And it's going to be so much more enjoyable. Right. So we got to get in the flow.
I resonate with that so much. And, the paralysis that a lot of people, myself included, face when we're doing something new for the first time and we're not really sure how to start. Even, I mentioned working on this new illustration collection based off of my trip in Africa. That was I did that safari and that hike in November, and I'm just now getting started with that collection. And yeah, it's been like a ton of rapid travel and I've been busy, the holidays, I got pneumonia, like life gets in the way. But then, I got back here to Chiang Mai and I was like, okay, great. Now I have peace and quiet and health and time, and I'm going to work on this collection. And then I felt this paralysis. I was like, oh no, I made such a big deal. I took so many pictures of those flamingos. I better do a good flamingo. And that whole idea of I'm starting this big, daunting, giant illustration collection. Oh my God, how do I even start? It still crept in. And I mean, I'm a decade into this career. And so like that idea of almost, paralysis of how do you get started because the thing that you're working towards is so large. It can be really overwhelming. Like, and for me, like I ended up my first 2 weeks of getting back here, I just was kind of like, oh, I'll do some other things. Like I got to check my email for the 30th time today. That's more important before I get started. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to get started. And I was questioning myself. I was like, is this even worth illustrating? Like, why am I so hesitant to do it? Is it because I don't want to illustrate flamingos and zebras and hippos? And then I realized, no, it's just because I've made it this huge deal in my head that this is going to be this massive collection I'm working on this year to justify this trip I took. And then I just the way I got back into it is, one, that realization hit is this is scaring me because I'm making it up to be this huge thing. But then I was like, how have I solved every other problem in my business when I've been faced with the same paralysis? I just dipped my toes in the water, and then I got my foot in the water, and then I got my calf in, and then I'm swimming, So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do some doodles. I'm going to loosen up. I haven't drawn in a while. And yeah, it was great. It helped. But I think so many artists face that, especially on the business side of things, especially like, yeah, creativity, that's fine. Check, got that. But the business side, like it can be so overwhelming of like, what do you start with? I mean, what is your advice? You have so many students that you help with the business side of things. How did you help them through this paralysis?
Something I say, and I mean it genuinely, is that it's going to take time to grow a business. It's going to take time. And I think that what happens is I teach a lot of women. I have men in my programs too, but I tend to attract a lot of women, I think, because of my own story as being a mother of 3 and, all these different things. A lot of women, first and foremost, make things really big in their head. They're like, if I'm going to invest in myself and start a business, I've got to succeed, or else I've wasted time, I've wasted money. A lot of women do not want to, they feel guilty. They feel guilty to even pursue something. So if they don't hit a home run right out the gate, a lot of times they feel like failures and they want to give up. And that feeling that you had, I'm going to they make it really, really big, because it's important. It's big, but they work it up so much, then they hardly ever get started, or they get started and try the first time. And when they face their first bit of rejection, they read like, that's a sign from the universe that I'm not going the right way. But feelings are not the same as fact. Our brains lie to us, even though we're smart people. And I believe in intuition, but like, that's something I've kind of learned the hard way, is my brain is not always my best friend. And so I really think it's mindset, because I think for a business, you have to realize it's going to take time. Any business, not just in our business. You have to first get your skills up to par. A lot of people who have a dream of a business, they are wanting to leapfrog the skill stage as an artist of how to like develop the skills and a style and put their story into it. That's really important. I had my whole life, fortunately, to work on drawing, because I've been doodling since I could hold a pencil. So like that took me so long, and my style is still growing and evolving. Once you have like your skills set, your style in place, like it's so much easier than to build a business around that. A lot of people want to build the business first and then figure out like how to be a good artist later. If you're going to be an art-based business, I think it's that delicate balance of constantly improving, constantly learning how to become a better artist, while also giving myself permission to explore. My story as an artist is, I started as a nursery decor artist, and that's not what I called myself when I first started. I'm like, I'm a doodler, because I didn't take myself that seriously. I was afraid of what people would think of me if I was like, I'm Stacy Bloomfield and I'm starting an art business. I was afraid of what a lot of people would think. And my early work, even though it was cute and I started selling it on Etsy, I mean, I put so much out there that did not work. I was hand making pillows. I was sewing aprons. I didn't even know how to embroider at the time. And I was selling embroidery patterns. Like no one bought those. They did not make any sense. I did not know what I was doing, but I just kept putting a lot of stuff out there. And I think that I wasn't afraid to fail there. And I wasn't afraid that it wasn't super good. And a lot of people need to start there. Okay, if I want this thing, there's magic in the draft. There's not going to be a draft if I don't start making something. And then not only am I going to make it, I have to share it. And then I have to learn from it and get better and better. So going all the way back to your business question, Kat, because I got off on a little tangent. Businesses take time.
That was great.
Okay.
No,
Cool.
this is, where were you in 2014 when I needed this pep talk? That would have been amazing. But 2014, where was it?
I was giving birth to my third baby. I think that's what I was doing. Yeah.
You were busy. You were a little busy. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too, where you've just got to be comfortable getting a little uncomfortable. Like and the thing is, like, people think discomfort, like, oh, I'm going to shy away from that, but that's how you grow. That's you have to face challenges for yourself, whether it's a massive challenge of like or something very, very tiny. Like this is how we self-improve and how we get better and how we get something off the ground. I mean, oftentimes I think about, I get asked a lot, what does it take to succeed as an art licensing artist or someone that's interested in surface pattern design and successful in making money with it. And I think it's a combination of factors. It's grit and resilience. You can't just crumble at that first failure, because you're going to face a lot of failures. Personally, I've had more failures than wins in my business. Like, I think most of us do, but it's not the failures that define me. It's the wins. Like, those are the things that propel my business forward. So it's that. I mean, talent, obviously, for my industry, art licensing, it's also creating artwork that's going to have strong commercial appeal. If you're interested in selling something like in a gallery or something else, like, the commercial appeal is more art licensing, surface pattern design specific, because a lot of what we're licensing is, utilitarian products. So you've got to have persistence, adaptability, things change on a dime. And then, a healthy dose of luck comes in there as well. Right time, right place, that matters. But it's not like luck is something that you can't control, because that right time, right place, you can definitely, stock that in your favor. Like my strategy of just put myself on every single print on demand site out there. It wasn't like, oh, they're all going to make me a ton of money. What they're going to do is it's going to get my artwork all over the internet. My signature is there, my branding is there, my website is linked in my bio. And sure enough, like, by setting myself up to have people see me, people saw me. So yeah, there's a lot of factors.
And I gotta say, like, you stack the odds in your favor when you do it the way like you and I teach, which is you've got to share your work. You've got to put your work out there. So if you are creating a portfolio, which we teach people how to do, and we teach them how to pitch their work and show it off, if you only do that once and never again, your odds go down tremendously. You increase your odds the more you pitch your work. You increase your odds the more you upload, like you do on print on demand. I still have an Etsy store, even though Etsy's not really where I make my money anymore, because sometimes people find me on Etsy. I still do craft shows from time to time, even though I don't necessarily have to, but because of people who might see my work and the people I get to meet. A lot of artists who are shy and they're afraid to show people that they don't have it all figured out. They want to come out the gate with a picture perfect, polished brand. And that doesn't exist, in my opinion. Artists get to make personal brands. I know people don't like to think of themselves as a brand, but like you have a brand. It's based around your name. I have a brand. It's called Gingerbur, and it's not a dirty word. It's okay to be an artist who's building like a universe around your art and your story. And I actually think that further amplifies like your impact and the ability of the right people to hear about you and see about you. You could have the coolest story ever, but if you don't tell anyone about it, they're never going to hear it. And I mean, you and I both know right now with art licensing, story-driven art is really important right now. The story of the artist has never been more important, in my opinion, for like mass appeal. So we can't just hide that away. But I will say, like, if you're a shy artist, like, it can take you a long time to build up that confidence. And that's why I think having a community of other artists to talk to and to commiserate with. You said this thing about failures. This year in the course, we're actually having people like celebrate their failures and leverage your art. We're giving them like a little document. Like, we're actually sending all of our new students a box this year, a box with a printed workbook and with all these accountability tools in it. And one of them is to celebrate that first no from a pitched email. We're going to celebrate it. Why? Because that means you're stepping into the arena and you're playing the game. So you don't get a no if you're not trying, right? And so a no is a sign that you're actually like doing this work. And I've had so many failures, so many embarrassments. One of my biggest licensing pitch embarrassing story. I knew I told you this before.
I'm excited for this one.
Well, I'm a little bit of a goober. I'm professional, I'm smart, but I'm also fallible. So I early in my career did what I shouldn't have done. And I was looking at all these other artist portfolios before I was sending a pitch email. And I literally copied and pasted the URL to someone else's licensing portfolio accidentally and pasted it in my own pitch email. And they caught me red-handed. because I was clearly, and it was someone's art that didn't look anything like mine. It was a completely different medium, but I was like, oh no, so and so does this and so does this. And I guess I was copied it and pasted it into a tab to look at. And then I was writing my pitch email. And it was so embarrassing. I did not get a licensing contract from that one, if you can imagine. I did not.
Honestly, Stacey, I think experiences like that, those like humiliations, which we all face, like it's like when you put yourself out there, you're gonna make mistakes from time to time. And it's just you just got to get used to it, and you grow tough skin and you learn from those mistakes. And I think it's good. I think it's good to have embarrassing failures from time to time, because that's, I mean, if anything's going to cement in your brain as knowledge to grow and learn from, it's the failures, that are going to get you there. I mean, like when I was getting started, again, like I mentioned, I didn't really have much knowledge about my industry. And I was talking to a coworker. Again, this is back when I worked at a design agency, and she was on her way out. She gave her 2 weeks notice. The company asked her to extend it to 2 months, and she was nice. So she was like, yeah, I'll give you 2 months. But she was going off to do her own thing. And I really looked up to her. She was the designer that kind of trained me, onboarded me when I started at that agency right after college. And I mentioned to her, I was like, well, no harm's done. She's on her way out. I can probably confide. And I told her that I was, starting to kind of build up this side hustle and upload my artwork to print on demand sites. And she is the one that kind of told me what licensing was. She said, follow licensing. The money is in licensing. And I'm like writing it down. I'm like, what does she mean by licensing? And that was such solid advice. And one thing that I really learned from that is the value, like you mentioned, in community. Like you're going to learn what you learn, but if you combine that knowledge and kind of collect it with a group, you will rise and soar much further than you would by yourself. So, I mean, the reason that you and I even know each other is because I think I sent you just a cold email of like, hey, Stacey, you don't know me, I'm Kat, but I'm putting together a mastermind of some other creatives who are rocking it in the business world. And do you want to come join? I think that was like in 2020 or something.
And then I went, no, I think that we're all kind of afraid sometimes to make that initial like reach across the like virtual aisle and shake hands. But community, honestly, is where we can share, like, is it just me or is this thing happening? Is it just me or did you notice this shift recently? Otherwise, sometimes you think it's just you. And whenever you realize there's a lot of other people who are having similar experiences or have already been through that experience and can give you advice, it's so powerful. You can't do it alone. You'll grow way slower if you do it alone. You can Google all you want and read all the information that's out there, and that's good. I want you to understand what you're stepping into with art licensing and having an art side hustle. But don't be afraid to make relationships with people, even if you feel like you're half baked, like you're not totally there yet. The artists in our community, so we've had like thousands and thousands of artists go through Leverage Your Art. And then I have this course called the Artist Side Hustle. It's completely free. And we had 60,000 artists take it last year. Majority of the students who I work with actually have a full-time job, and they want to start that art career that they never either had the courage or the time or the opportunity to start. So they're building it while they have something else happening, or they are caretakers and they're mothers or caretakers and they need an outlet for themselves. And yes, they can just make art for fun, but they also want to show that they can build something. I had a mother tell me the other day, she sent me a message. She's like, the reason why I loved taking your course, Stacey, last year is because I wanted to show my girls that it was possible to build something of value that will last. And like, I literally got goosebumps because I'm like, that's like what I did too with my kids. I have 2 girls and a boy. And community is what makes it possible for people to share those moments and to keep going whenever it can be a long road. And that's why I'm just so grateful for you and for all the people who have poured into my experience. You mentioned luck. I know I've been really lucky. I also know that if I hadn't tried and put myself out there and kept going, every time I stumbled and made a mistake, I'm a little bit clumsy sometimes in real life and with processes, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now.
That's really inspiring, Stacey. I agree with you. I think community is one of the most valuable things that has propelled my own career and the joy of it as well. Like it's lonely. It's lonely being a self-employed artist. I mean, I work from home. And that was a huge concern I had when I was, back in 10 years ago when I was leaving my job, I was like, oh gosh, am I going to miss the social aspect and this collaboration and working on, logo branding projects together? And the answer was no. I love the freedom of working from home, so that wasn't even an issue. But what I did miss was the ability to talk through with someone and say like, okay, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I think I figured something out that's working really well for me. Like, is the potential here? Like, what should I change? What should I maneuver? Should I just see how it's going? I mean, with you and I mean, we talk about every time we get on calls together, we're talking about our challenges in our business, and oftentimes, either you, me, or someone else in our small group has faced that exact same experience, and they're able to be like, oh, hey, I dealt with this last year. Here's what I did. This is what worked and this is what didn't work. And it's just encouraging. Like, yes, it's practical steps and this is a solution that a peer had, but it's also just this sense of encouragement of like, okay, I'm not the only one that's struggling with X, Y, or Z. I'm curious for you, how do you facilitate community with your audience?
Okay, so I got a couple of ways that I do it. First, I have this free Facebook group, and I think it has like over 20,000 artists in it. It's called Create and Grow with Stacy Bloomfield, or it's called Create and Grow with Gingerbread, but it probably should be Create and Grow with Stacy Bloomfield. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there who there can be a lot of negativity, a lot of like bad mouthing, which is like one of the ickiest things I see in the industry sometimes. There's something about this group. We don't even have to moderate it hardly, because everyone comes into that group. How do you have 20,000 people in a group and everyone is uplifting, encouraging, asking hard questions when someone like does something like AI art has been being talked about a lot lately, and the discussion will come up and I'll like hold my breath, like, okay, we're talking about AI art. And then I'll see all these people like politely disagree, politely direct, politely teach. And I mean, so that's a free resource that we've had for years, and it just keeps growing. And that's like, my heart is so happy. Like, that's who we attract. That's who I attract, are these type of people who are like, we're going to teach each other through kindness. We're going to be direct. We're not going to be a-holes. We're going to just like facilitate growth. So that's first. Second of all, a couple times a year, I run these free courses. So like the Artist Side Hustle is happening the first week of April, and it's probably my best program I've put together that's free. I don't like to do things that are just fluff. I wanted to teach something substantial so that any person out there who's creative could, for a week, kind of feel this tremendous artistic momentum. 60,000 artists last year from all over the world participated. And so you get to be on live Zoom calls with me. You get to watch pre-recorded videos where I'm teaching. There's workbooks, there's giveaways, and, there's the Facebook community that people jump into. And then I do have paid programs. Like my big course that most artists know me for is called Leverage Your Art, where I pretty much teach exactly how I recommend artists building their careers. Because you go from dream to like, I'm trying to build this side hustle, to, okay, I'm making some money. How do I scale that? And we always start from the portfolio and art licensing, because I think that if you can learn how to make art that's licensable, whether that's what you end up pursuing or not, that means that you can make art that can sell in any medium or any product, meaning you can make your own products and sell them. You could license, like we talk about. You can create products to sell to stores. You can collaborate. Like, the art that's marketable is at the core of it all. So it does start from art licensing. And we have a private community there just for all of our students who are taking the course. It's 8 weeks of live teaching together. And this year we're offering 3 months of complimentary post-course support. It's not just me. I bring in like this team of experts from the industry who come in and answer questions and encourage. It's just this beautiful feeling of getting to see this thing happen. And I got to tell you, when I was having my first baby back in 2008, I never would have dreamt that I would get to do this. I not only get to make art, but I get to help other artists find their voice and find their path. So that's how I try to facilitate community.
That's really inspiring, Stacy. Thank you. Thank you so much for just sharing that, for coming here today, and for being an open book. That's one thing you're known for, is being an open book. So thank you. Thank you. Any final words on Leverage Your Art? I know enrollment is just opening up in a few short weeks. This, again, is your big signature course. I mean, it's, in my opinion, one of the most robust courses out there for creatives that are trying to learn specifically the business side of things. And it's just, you provide so much value, and you you under promise and you over deliver. Like, you provide so much value for your students. And yeah, thank you for just taking the time to show up today and have this little chat.
Well, Kat, thank you. I appreciate your support with the program. I wouldn't keep doing the course if I didn't see people actually having really great positive responses from it. And sometimes what people need isn't what they thought they needed. So people come in for the business part of the course, which I teach, and I teach it with love and honesty. And I bring in experts to answer questions that I don't know, because there's not one person I think who knows the answer to everything. And I'm very transparent about that. If I don't know the answer, I'll find someone who does. I'm not going to BS my way through it, because who deserves that? But I just believe with all my heart that, like, artists undervalue themselves. Artists don't often think that they're worth it. Artists don't charge enough money for their work. And artists don't want to show up and share their amazing gifts. So that's what Leverage is all about, is teaching not just the business acumen. You can be an artist and a brilliant business person, and you can also share your gifting and make an impact on your life and other people's lives. So that's what Leverage is all about. And enrollment does open up second week of April.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stacy Bloomfield.
You're supposed to be, well, thank you, Kat.
Yeah, thank you, Stacy. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching. And see you next time. Take care.